Hello, Lincolnshire. Compliments of the season to you. Sorry I can't be there. This is the second video that I'm doing for aviation learning. This one's going to be tied in with Wartime Christmas. I'm Ash Dickinson. I'm a poet. I performed in Canada, Australia, New Zealand, America, Spain, Jordan, Germany, the Czech Republic. Anyway, we're going to do a bit of writing in this session, but I thought I'd share some poems first off, just to warm me up. I was in a primary school, I would say recently. It wasn't that recently. I don't seem to have been in a primary school very recently at all with the current lockdown situation. But I was in primary school maybe last year or so. And they had a dog in the primary school. My understanding of this dog was it was a reading dog. Think about, like, you've got pupils who are not very confident readers. They read to a non-judgmental audience, a dog. The dog's sitting there going, "Ooh," and they read to the dog. And as a reward for good reading, they got to stroke the dog. It was really cute, right? Imagine a little 5-year-old with a book and reading to the dog. It's very sweet. I love what I do as a poet. Ordinarily, when there isn't a global pandemic, I am travelling throughout the country, as I say, I've performed all around the world as well. I'm hardly ever home. I would love a dog or a cat or 6 cats and 8 dogs, but I'm never home. So as a reward for good poetry that day, I got to stroke the dog too, and it was cool. And I thought I'd write a poem about this dog. Here you go. Mango, the reading retriever, is read to by primary pupils to improve literacy. It has worked. She is now the most well-read canine in the country. With a reading age of 12, which in dog years is 77, she laps up complex sentence structure. To her, a book is worth any bone from any butcher. This precociousness eventually led to enrolment in class. In no time at all, she rose to be head girl. When she dreams of pea green boats, fields of rabbit scent scattering as she runs the sand wet as her nose, to search the horizon for Robinson Crusoe. Go where the wild things go. Go to meet the mouse that knows the gruffalo. When she whimpers, front leg a twitch, she has found lost treasure that attracts 4 children. The whole world ahead of them. An endless summer opening up like the unimaginable pleasure that awaits you within a book. Now we're going to do a bit of poetry writing. And before we do, I just want to talk you briefly through some of the things you might want to consider. First off, rhyme. I like rhyme. It can make something catchy. It can make it more memorable. Sometimes, though, we force a rhyme. We force something in that shouldn't be there. I went to New York. I took a fork. If you're writing about traveling through America with cutlery, awesome. If the fork, it never reappears in a poem, and you only put it in because you can think of anything else that rhymed, change your line order, change your word order. I went to New York at night. I went to New York first thing in the morning. I went to New York one sunny day. Rhyme with day, rhyme with night, rhyme with morning. Give yourself more choice, more options. Rhythm. This is your poem's flow. It's musicality. Repetition. Repeat a phrase, an idea, a line to add emphasis to it to get your point across. Feelings and mood. If you're writing about heartache, if you're writing about joy, use words that convey this emotion. Build up an atmosphere for what you're writing about. Poetic devices. Similes, metaphors, alliteration. These can add depth and detail to the world that you're writing about. Imagery. This is the sights and the sounds and the smells. Everything that appeals to the senses, brings something to life, brings it off the page, makes it more relatable, more accessible. Imagination. Take an idea and run with it. Run with it as far as you can. And the last one is arguably the most important. Your words. Are you using the words that best express what it is you want to say? And if you're not, cross them out, move them around. Nothing you write is set in stone. I can't stress that enough. Now we're going to do a bit of writing. And this is an accompanying piece to the video that hopefully you've seen regarding Wartime Christmas. And this first bit is going to be in relation to the Operation Pied Piper. Fears that German bombing would cause civilian deaths prompted the government to evacuate children from big British cities to countryside reception zones, from places like London and those of docks and the makers of munitions like Coventry to safer, more rural areas unlikely to be bombed. It was called Operation Pied Piper. And over the course of 3 days in late 1939, over 1.5 million evacuees left their homes to these reception zones. Lincolnshire, being rural, was one area to take in children. These children would be put on trains and sent away from their families, and they didn't know how long they would be gone for. There's a picture here from the time of a policeman helping young evacuees and a nun escorting them at London Station. That was the 18th of May 1940. Here's another picture here. This one is also taken from 1940. This is a group of evacuees from Bristol arriving at a railway station in Devon. And here's a newspaper article from Lincolnshire from 1939, September 39. The first trainload of Leeds children arrived at the Lincoln LNER station. Only about a third of the numbers expected came off the first trains. The children, all wearing identifying labels and carrying their gas masks in cartons and bags containing their clothing, quickly assembled with their teachers. The first contingent were booked for villages in the North Kesteven rural district. Shortly after they had gone there, arrived the first lot of evacuees for Lincoln City. Buses took the children to two of the schools, which have been named as distribution centres. At these schools, the children were handed their rations for 48 hours. They were each handed a paper carrier in which there was a tin of meat, a tin of sweetened milk, a tin of unsweetened milk, a pound of biscuits and a quarter pound of chocolate. The behaviour of the children were excellent. There were no tear-stained faces. A teacher said, "Some of them look upon it as a glorified camp." One of the first questions I got was, "Sir, shall we be able to keep up our swimming?" So, for some, as you may have seen in the video, in the main video, it was a bit like going on holiday. And here's some evacuated children who are arriving at Lincoln. Children evacuated from Leeds with their little bundles of clothes, etc., gas masks, ration books. And some of them even brought buckets and spades. Lincoln meant seaside to them. Quite a number of the children evacuated from Leeds arrived in Lincoln with sand buckets, evidently thinking that Lincoln must be near the sea. This is the start of a poem. It's a much longer poem than this, called The Evacuee by Arthur E. King. This was written about those experiences of the children on that journey from Leeds to Louth in Lincolnshire to be evacuated and to be rehomed for however long the war was going to take. The first stanza is, "Can I come home now? Can I come home now? Can I come home now, Mum? Can I come home now? I went to the schoolhouse, a change of clothes and a sack. We then walked to the station, but we didn't come back. We got onto a train. It headed due south. We got off the train at a little town called Louth." You may want to keep that first. You're going to write your own take on this, and you're going to imagine you're one of those evacuated children. You may want to keep that first stanza, that "Can I come home now?" as a chorus. And you may want to write it. However long these poems are is up to you. How many stanzas you write is up to you. But you might want to keep that section in and have it repeating every few stanzas. You see, he uses this 4 lines, a quatrain. His are an A, B, C, B rhyme scheme. What this means is the first line and the third line have different sounds to any of the other lines, but the second and the fourth lines rhyme with each other. So in this case, he's got sack and back. If you wanted to use these, you could take anything with that rhyme sound, attack or track or black or whack, any of these. You're going to write your own version of these in 4-line quatrains. Same as his, same style. The first line and the third line are not going to rhyme. The second and the fourth line are going to rhyme with each other. You might want to keep, if you know Louth, you might want to keep Louth and South, or you may even want to use Lincoln. And you've got one and fun and sun and run and gun and done, anything like this. I want you to imagine you are one of these children. You may look like this. You may these are taken from previous Christmas wartime Christmas things. These are the typical outfits of children at the time. You might be there with your feelings. Are you writing from the point of view of you being at the train station or being on the train, or have you just arrived into Lincolnshire? Or have you been in Lincolnshire for a while, and this is you writing back maybe to your parents after 6 months, after a year of not having seen them? Were you scared? Are you excited? Maybe if you've lived in London or Leeds and you never saw the countryside, maybe this is wonderful. The smells and the sights. Is it what you were expecting? Think back and think about how your parents must feel. What are the people who are taking you in like? Have you met them? If so, what are they like in relation to your parents? What was London or Leeds or a big city compared to what you find now in Lincolnshire? Maybe you're now living on a farm. If you've seen the main video, you'll have known that some of the children who were taken onto farms got more food. Maybe you've enjoyed being surrounded by the animals and being outside in the countryside. Think about your possessions. A gas mask you would definitely have had. You would have had your identification tag. You would have had a ration book. You might have brought a toy, your favourite toy. What might that have been? You might have brought a book that meant something to you. There may have been a change of clothes in your suitcase in a brown paper parcel tied up with string. Or you may not even have had as many things as this. And how do you feel? Can you hear bombs falling in the distance? Can you imagine them? Can you imagine falling in London while you're there, miles and miles away in safety? And are there air raids where you are? Bomb shelters where you feel really alone? So teachers, you might want to scroll back through these slides. Look again at the photos. Look again certainly at what I've just spoken about now in terms of things to consider, and then return back to the poem. And it's going to be a series of quatrains, so 4 lines with an A, B, C, B rhyme scheme. The second and the fourth lines rhyme with each other. The first 2 lines don't rhyme with any of the lines. And I want you to imagine you are one of those children evacuated from a big city. Find yourself in Lincolnshire and how you feel and what your thoughts are. So, happy writing, folks. And we're done. I hope you've enjoyed that writing. You might want to check out Arthur King's The Evacuee poem. Thank you to Aviation Learning for their support for Lincolnshire County Council. Thank you, teachers, for your input. And have a great Christmas. It'll be very different probably this year, but we'll make the best of it. We always do. Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy New Year. Hope to see you in the flesh soon. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.